I just can't get enough of that. Free mods. How did I get that sound? With a free mod. That's how I got that sound. Now, if you're new to TFS, you're probably not knowing that this video is a little bit unorthodox and a little bit different than the format in which I operate on. But here's the reason behind this. I recently bought a 2014 F-150 Ecoboost, okay? And a lot of people were like, holy wow, I can't believe you got that truck. Now you gotta tell me all about these free mods and I trust your opinion on how it goes. Now this is not some dude in his daddy's truck being like, here's how you mod your truck, man, with the free mods. This is what you do because YouTube. That's not me, okay? Just had to throw that one out there. But in all seriousness, I'm actually exploring all of these free mods, explaining to you, showing you how it all works and all the rest of that good stuff. So enough about me chatting, let's actually get right into it. Now the first item on our free mods list is inside of the intake system, so I'm going to get it off of the truck in its entirety, I'll stick it out on the bench, and I'll show you exactly how it works. Now each admission cannula is constructed of a super polyoptic detractive spurving compound to prevent reciprocal scoring of the reverse ball eye refractors. The achievement of anti-vortexual surmountation is conceptualized by phase detraction of the aerolithic administration system. In short, this means that the bifolding of the seroptic polymodial A1R interactor is in complete antithesis with the Pollock vein spurve. Now in factory chromatic form, this has been time proven to prevent basolithic complexities of the cannulithic orientation. Now let's take a look at the atmospheric permeation lodgement case, better known as a filter box. Now this is cast-jected from a semi-synthetic polymodial amitradic structure with a high molecular mass. The general design is engineered in a preventative manner in which hydrolytic conditions of the inductance cycle will combat modulus hapsation. Each module is secured in an unceasing torque sphere encompassing circumferential compression, thus preventing any unilateral shifting. Now, thanks to the chromite electrolysis process, we can expect extended durability, reliability, valuability of the optoscopic retention. Now that we know how the intake system works, let's take a look at the internal components. You guys know these as the intake silencers. Now the only thing you really need to do in order to get the intake silencers out of there is grab a hold of a flathead screwdriver, loosen your hose clamps, whether it's in or out of the truck, and give them a tug. Now they may not want to pop out so easily, but that's how they come out. Okay, so all jokes aside, let's take a look at what these actual little plastic pieces of like tornado goodness of spiral flow, whatever the hell they are, and actually kind of pay attention to what they do. Now the answer is actually in two very important things on the Ford EcoBoost engine. One of them is the symmetry of the turbos themselves. They're actually asymmetric, meaning that one of them spins one way, the other one spins the other. Or in other words, one spins clockwise, the other one spins counter or anti-clockwise. Now that's kind of important to pay attention to. The other is the design of this intake system. Pay very close attention. Both of the turbos merge into one single inlet that goes up to the filter box. Now that's very important to pay attention to as well, because when you have turbos, as they're inducing air or as they're pulling in or as they're spinning, being driven by the exhaust gas, they're creating a vortex in the system. That vortex actually runs upstream into this central section here, or this merge section where it goes into the filter box. Now when you take two vortices that are spinning in opposite directions and they come to a central merge like this, they clash. They actually create a bunch of turbulence because they're not going to be in complete synchronous harmony to actually merge and find a way to spin around and compete and merge and, you know, file their way into the system. It basically doesn't work that way. They get to this section right here, they clash, lots of turbulence, run into starvation issues, airflow issues, all kinds of other stuff. Now, what these pieces actually do, now you're going to find a whole bunch of conflicting answers, and I'm pretty sure a bunch of people are going to get down in the comments and be like, you are straight wrong, because I knew the engineer who worked on the assembly line, or I met the guy who designed them, and there's only one person who did it, and they are exclusively for noise control, or noise pollution, or emission control, or anything like that. There's a lot of conflicting answers on this one. Pay very close attention to it. If you put these upstream of each one of those turbos, as the air is spinning, going up through the intake system, these will diffuse it. They will not increase the airflow or anything like that. They will diffuse it so that both turbos can breathe out of this single system. That's what they do. So the ultimate question then becomes, why are people ripping these out of their intake system if they're performing such an integral part of it, or such a valuable part in keeping the performance factor alive? Well, there's a couple of things here. Some other things that you actually need to pay attention to. There's a lot of reports that these things make your truck go faster, or make your car go faster, or make, X amount of gas mileage go up, go down, go do all this other stuff. Well, let's pay attention to very, very simple theory on this one. Now, an engine is really nothing more than a fancy way of saying air pump. It's a sophisticated air pump, nothing more, nothing less. Takes air in one side, blows it out the other, suck, squeeze, bang, blow. That's pretty much how an engine works. Now, the baseline of volumetric efficiency theory is the faster that you can get air in and out of it, the faster it's going to operate. And that's pretty much what we're working on. But the problem is the point of maximum restriction, or the point of most restriction, will dictate the speed at which that engine or that air pump can operate. In other words, if you take this tube, which is closely matched to the volume that that engine requires, and you take something smaller or takes up more area than this tube or this area, it will operate slower. That's pretty much all there is to it. Nothing more. So now it really boils down to, does this actually increase airflow if you take it out of there? Well, in the baseline theory, yes, it absolutely does. Does that net a performance gain? Well, here's the trade-off on this one. If you take this out of the system, you do get more airflow up in this section of it, but you notice how it tapers down, goes into the turbo, all the rest of that stuff. Same with any other intake system. Theoretically, if you took it out of here, yes, you net airflow, but at the trade-off in this particular system, you gain turbulence out of it, but you also gain audible turbo volume, or the turbo noise that everybody likes. So in turn, that's probably going to trigger somebody's butt dyno and say that, yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah, you take those things out of there, that's a free mod, makes you go way faster. Well, you know what, that's still going to be a topic of great debate that's going to last for a very, very long time. Theoretically, yes, you bring more air into the system, or at least up to the point of next biggest restriction. But at the same time, you're increasing your turbulence here, and without any kind of proper measuring and all the rest of this stuff, it's all hearsay, it's all butt dyno, it's all guesswork. Even with me, it's still guesswork. But I'm going to take them out. I'm going to show you what it sounds like. You can hear it. You can hear it with, you can hear it without. We'll go through all of that stuff right now. Now that's going to be the question right there. Now at the beginning of the episode, you heard that these turbos were ridiculously loud. Let me just roll down the window here. That's with the window down. That's pretty loud. So how did I do it? Well, we'll call that the ultimate free mod right there. We'll call that the intake delete. Yes, quite literally, I left the intakes off of there. The turbos are wide open right now, and this is a very stupid idea. It's stupid because the inlets of the turbo are actually right next to the wheel wells. Here's where the window's up. Yeah, well, it doesn't get much louder than that. But since the inlets are right next to the wheel wells, anything can happen. Like you could suck up a rock, you could pull in a whole lot of extra dirt and junk and things that you don't really want in your engine, and all the rest of that good stuff. So this is not recommended at all. The intake delete that's not a free mod you should actually consider at all. But you know what? It's loud. It's definitely free. It didn't cost me more than 5 minutes. Let's actually switch it up here. I'm gonna put these back on real quick and let's show you what it sounds like with the intake silencers out of it, but the intake's at least still on there because I don't feel good about driving this around at all right now. Now, assembly of your intake system is exactly the opposite of disassembly. As corny as that may sound, it actually just takes a little bit of effort, little weaseling, little wiggling, and in no time flat, it actually goes in roughly 10 minutes worth of work or so to get the job done. Now it's back together, let's check it out again. All right, intake's back on, but we kept the diffusers out of it. Let's hear what it sounds like. Let's see here. Windows are down. Here we go. It's a little quieter than before. They definitely make some noise. Very audible. Let's see what it sounds like with the windows up. I mean, I can definitely hear them as long as we're, you know, stepping on it. It definitely makes some noise. Steady drive, about 40 miles an hour right now. I can still hear them. Not screaming like they were before. That's for sure. You know, that's not bad. You know, to be perfectly honest with you, I can't tell the difference between stock or anything else like that. It's just literally the audible sound is making it feel like it's faster. You know, I can't really say that there's anything good or bad about doing this mod other than the fact that your turbos may end up starving at some sort of crucial point. But you know what, that's hearsay. It's really up to you. I personally see nothing wrong with doing this, and professionally I would say that do whatever you want, because at the end of the day it's literally just kind of gonna bring it down to like audible noise unless there was some sort of measurable difference. Now, getting down to the gas mileage concept, that's another story there. The biggest thing about the gas mileage, some people report that it goes down, some people report that it goes up. Now, personally, I would see a drop in that, at least in the beginning, just because I like the sound and I'd be stomping on it like everywhere I go. That pretty much makes sense to me. So, you know, that's something to consider, that there's probably the reason why that's actually happening. Now, realistically speaking, that's not that bad. I mean, but either way, let's put the intake diffusers back in there and let's see what it sounds like with that, because maybe that'll make a difference. Pull back into the shop here, we'll just knock that out real fast. All right, back to complete factory form. It means the intake's restrictors, the intake silencers, whichever one you want to call them, they are back in right now. Everything is bone stock as it would be from the factory. Let's see how much noise we get out of this one. I can still kind of hear them. With the windows down there. Let's listen to windows up again. It's definitely quieter. Barely hear it. It's a pretty audible difference. Acceleration on the truck feels about the same to me, personally, between all of them, except for when it was wide open. It seemed to pick up a little bit more, but then again, there was absolutely nothing restricting it. Now, aside from barely hearing that blow-off valve, like literally just, if I'm listening, I can hear it. It sounds like a completely bone stock NA vehicle. No turbos at all, no nothing. That's kind of what it sounds like. I guess the choice is ultimately up to you. The next item on the free mods list, the blow-off valve. It's very common for a lot of people to really want to hear the sounds that the engine makes, at least when forced induction is happening, right? They want to hear the turbo spooling up. They want to hear the blow-off valve actually strike. They want their psh all over the place. And it's a very common thing to do. Now, the factory Ford system actually recirculates. It's a recirculating system, or a recirc system. It goes from the blow-off valve back into the driver's side or the left side or the left bank of the engine at that turbo inlet. So what's very common to do is to remove that recirculation tube, plug up the port, and just let the blow-off valve vent to the atmosphere. In fact, it's called a Vta Mod, which stands for vent to atmosphere. So how all of that works and how we're going to do it, what it sounds like, is what we're going to cover right now. Now, it can be a little bit tricky to locate the blow-off valve recirculation tube plug, but it's on the left where this arrow is. We'll get it a little bit closer. You can see it here, just hiding away. And we'll get even closer here, and this is what it actually looks like underneath that tube where the arrow is indicated. So in order to get it off of here, we're going to grab a hold of it, give it a clockwise turn, push it down, and it should slip right off. Now, you might be wondering, well, where's the other end attached to? Well, follow that tube, just follow it all the way down, and as soon as you feel the same clip underneath, give it a twist, same clockwise motion, pull it right out of the top. Now, in the event that you can't actually access it, your arm isn't long enough, too fat, whatever, you can get it from underneath. But here's a look at how the clockwise motion works to actually lift or to release the tabs. Now, this is a rubber chair plug, or at least it's the foot that goes on the bottom of a chair leg to keep it from sliding around on the floor. Now, the diameter on this is 1.25 inches. It does have internal ridges, and I went down to the hardware store and I bought it for, I want to say, like $2 for a 2-pack. Very cheap. It's supposed to go on to the end of that recirculation tube snap, or that clip that's supposed to be on there to block all the dust and everything out of your intake. Now, there are some expressed concerns about using rubber instead of using silicone, because some people think it's going to degrade and fall apart and all the rest of that stuff. Now, there are different compounds of rubber, but most of the stuff under here is actually made of rubber, like, you know, the bellows on the intake and hoses for the radiator and stuff like that. Now, this is not going to suddenly rot away and destroy your truck and, you know, cause some serious harm or anything. But if you really want to, you know, go invest $5 into a silicone cap, 1.25 inch diameter, yeah, go ahead and do it. It's not going to make much difference. But this is, you know what, I'm not going to say it's a clever hack or it's completely wasted or a stupid idea or anything like that. I mean, I'm going to say for people on a budget, this is probably a good idea. But either way, just take it, reach down below, right where it was before, and you can hear it snap. Not bad. Now, if you really want to secure this with a hose clamp, that's fine. Go ahead and secure it with a hose clamp. I believe you can find them in black, you can find them in white, you can do all the rest of the stuff. I chose white on this one because you can actually see it a lot better. But now we talk about the blow-off valve, and a lot of people are very, very concerned about capping or filtering or doing something with that blow-off valve underneath. So I'm going to get the truck up in the air and we'll explore that before we go for our test drive. Now, this piece right here is actually the bottom outlet of our blow-off valve. It goes through a little chamber here, but the biggest expressed concern here is about air going back in through the blow-off valve. I'll tell you flat out, it's not going to happen. It's not possible. There's one reason why. Now, most blow-off valves, as we know them, are actually mechanical. And this side vacuum comes in, sucks the air out of it, causing the diaphragm to actually come under vacuum, while positive pressure on the valve side actually pushes it and causes it to open and your air to escape. Now, this happens every single time you let off the gas or when positive pressure combined with vacuum overrules the spring pressure that is inside of it. They're purely mechanical, nothing else. Now, the biggest concern with these is that if you leave them open, they'll induce or they'll bring in air into your actual engine. Now, on this case with the Ford Ecoboost and a lot of modern cars that are actually forced induction, they have what we call electronic blow-off valves or electric blow-off valves, meaning that they're controlled and signaled by electricity, or by DC current, if you will, of the actual vehicle itself. And that means that it's not going to be open until the ECU, or whatever trigger, tells it to open. So while you're driving down the road and all the rest of that stuff, it's not open until you actually let off the throttle and it gets a trigger to actually open it. That means positive pressure is always coming out of the blow-off valve, not into the blow-off valve. All right, Vta Mod. Kids these days. That was a little throttle. Let's see what it sounds like. Get a solid pull out of it. Oh. Well, with the window up, it's definitely a lot quieter. You know, I thought this was going to be ridiculously annoying, but I'd say that I could probably tolerate that. That's it's not bad. I can live with that. But then again, I do have some really big plans for this truck anyway, and it's going to include a big 50 mil mechanical blow-off valve. So that's probably going to be even louder than that little dainty factory one. But I mean, at least this is a good test to find out if I could tolerate this or not. And to be honest with you, it's really not that bad. I thought it was going to be oh, I don't know, a little too ricey for me, but this'll do. Should do just fine. Let's do the windows down again. That's funny. Should a truck be making this kind of sound? Not bad for $2. Let's get on to the next mod. I'd say VTA, really up to you. Makes no difference whatsoever if you do it or you don't. Let's move on. Now the next item on the list lies right beneath the truck. That's right, take this resonator, take this restrictive 2.5-inch exhaust in the center section and this muffler and get rid of it. This is also known as a muffler delete. Now, if your exhaust system is much like mine in this case and has seen many conditions around the world that make it rust, it would be beneficial to grab a hold of your favorite penetrating oil, spray it down before you grab your ratchet. Come on, you piece of... Alright, well, straight up and honest here, I do have other ratchets and I could absolutely take that apart, but you know what? This is only going to expedite my future plans here, so here's a new idea. Seriously? You know, I just got kind of lucky there. My shop neighbor across the street had a Sawzall blade here. He just tossed to me. Let's see. Welcome to season 4. I'm really not sure if people would believe this if I told them, but this actually did happen. But the ultimate solution became grab the correct, good branded, longer length Sawzall blade and cut it off. Okay. That was a lot more effort than I really wanted to put in for a muffler delete. Okay. Here we go. Guess it's not as terrible as I thought it would be. Can certainly hear the turbos. That's pretty cool. Definitely has that V6 sound. These windows up here and see what it sounds like inside. I can feel it in the floorboard. So I'm pretty sure it's going to drone really bad on the freeway. significantly better. This pressure waves in the exhaust from the floor. No, not for me, but I dig the throttle response. One more shot with the windows down here. Home stretch, I don't see any cops. It's not my jam. You know, call me old. That's not my jam. That turbo sounds pretty cool, but you know, I'm gonna have to do something about that. Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't really care for the sound. It's not my style. Your opinion may differ, but luckily, I already have the pre-ordered solution ready to roll, and that's going to be coming up into a future episode of TFS that you're definitely going to want to check out. So let's wrap this up here. So after all of that, we've got a pretty good idea of exactly how all of these free mods work. Now to kind of recap here, we know that the intake system has the intake diffusers built into them. They are diffusers, not necessarily silencers, but they do silence the system. They actually made it a little bit quieter. It's up to you if you want to keep them in or take them out. Until there is any kind of logical, scientific evidence that says anything, it's really all a bunch of hearsay, and I'm pretty sure people are going to argue about it until they're dead, or until this engine just suddenly disappears off the face of the earth. Chances are it's not going to happen. On the blow-off valve, we know that the blow-off valve does recirculate into the system. A little rubber chair plug, 1.25 inches in diameter, or a little silicone plug will do that. And thanks to learning how electronic blow-off valves work versus mechanical ones, we don't have a whole lot of worry about anything getting clogged up into there because it's always under positive pressure. As long as you're driving and the blow-off valve is active, it will blow everything out of there. And since it's always closed, when it's not actually active, when there's not any boost to blow off of there, it's always closed. Nothing's going to get into the engine, so we don't really have to worry about that one. Now onto the exhaust, it really pretty much is up to your opinion, and it's entirely up to you if you want to do it, if you want to get rid of it, hack it, throw something else in there, all the rest of that good stuff. And of course, I'm going to be taking care of doing something else to that system very soon here, so you'll definitely want to be able to look out for that episode. Now that about wraps it up for this episode, and I want to thank you guys for watching as always. And from the TFS crew here, we'd very much like to say thank you yet again for another really awesome season. As we enter season 4 right now, I got a feeling that this is going to be totally friggin' epic. So thank you very much for all the continued support over the years. Now, if you need to get in touch with us, you can always head over to the fabricationseries.com website. You can also sign up for a welding or fabrication class. We've got more of those coming up this year. Hit us up, get us an email, check out some of the other build blogs, all the rest of that good stuff. Instagram at the.fabricator, post lots of good stuff over there. Facebook.com/thefabricatorseries, we got lots of good stuff over there as well. Now, if you subscribe and ring that bell down there, you're going to find access to the exclusive content of everything that airs, watching the episodes before they air, seeing all the other stuff that we've got going on there, exclusive content just for you for being a subscriber, because we really appreciate you. Well, that about gets it done here. I'm going to get back onto this exhaust, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.